Ed, and Eddys Booha. Year after year, I've thought about putting this special on the list, but for some reason I could never quite articulate why I thought it should be on the list. It's definitely visually surprising, featuring the most elaborate designs of Big Ed's twisted, nightmare-soaked brain. But saying that the artwork in this episode is really good doesn't seem to quite fit. Oh, I should explain why there are a bunch of monsters in this. See, it's Halloween in the cul-de-sac, and Ed has spent the entire spooky month watching horror movies.
Good Lord! Look at all these videotapes!
I'm going to assume it's been a month, because Eddie got detention for the prank he pulled on a teacher.
Dishing out detentions on Halloween!
Reap what you sow, Eddie. You filled the teacher's desk with processed cheese.
So, let's just assume it was a school day. I don't think Ed's parents would let him skip school. So let's just assume all of his free time has been spent in the warm glow of the CRT since October 1st. It really is the only way to explain how Ed has programmed his brain to see monsters everywhere. Although even though this is not totally out of ordinary for Ed, he was already susceptible to suggestion, exaggeration, and his own unique wandering perspective of the world. I mean, that's why we love him.
Take to your heels, Gertrude!
But Ed, under the influence of the entire run of what is basically Cinemassacre's monster madness, has made him gone completely insane, and he has sworn to defeat the imaginary threats of the cul-de-sac.
Earth is not your salad bar!
All the while, Eddie is trying to drag the gang along a map his brother gave him to a secret enclave that is supposed to have the best treats in town.
It's called Spookyville! I got them from my brother. Folks give out buckets and buckets of candy!
Sadly, by the time they reach the end of the map, they realize that Spookyville was the cul-de-sac all along.
We've gone in a complete circle. We're back in the cul-de-sac.
This is my house!
And because they spent all night walking in circles and dealing with Big Ed's delusions, they completely missed out on the fun and candy of trick-or-treating.
Seems your brother tricked rather than treated you this Halloween, Eddie.
Plus, everyone in the neighborhood wants to rip their throats out. Maybe the reason I never put this on the list is because it hit a little close to home. I don't know about you, but I've gone so hard on Halloween some years that it's not really fun by the end of it. And yes, this special does foreshadow that Eddie's brother is a malicious jackass for wasting Halloween for him and his friends. But if Eddie wasn't so greedy and just hit his own block first, he could have had at least something for the night. Oh well, at least Ed seems satisfied with the whole ordeal.
Aw, ain't Halloween so sweet?
The Elvira Show. This 1993 pilot for a proposed TV series never actually aired on TV. Then how did we get it? Ooh, spooky! Okay, so it doesn't take place on Halloween, but this is often the subject of posts and articles during October, going all the way back to 2009. So, you know, it's a Halloween special now. It stars Elvira as a local psychic living in Manhattan.
When you told me we were moving to Manhattan, I thought Broadway, Times Square. But no, you meant Manhattan, Kansas. The Little Apple, the city that always sleeps.
I will say there is a weird, timeless quality to this pilot. I mean, it feels like a sincere story about a witch trying to live her best life, balancing using her magical talents while still trying to keep them low profile, while also at the same time clearly feeling like a parody of shows like Bewitched or Genie.
Come on, carpet. Say ah.
But now that so much time has passed, it also just feels like a parody of sitcoms as a whole. And it still has a little bit of an edge to it, too.
This is a bust! No, this is a bust.
Especially in the subverted parental dynamic between Elvira and her long-lost niece, a repressed Catholic-raised neat freak.
Oh, put me down for 2 boxes of chocolate mint and 1 vanilla cream. Thanks!
And also feels like a precursor to shows like Sabrina. There is literally a talking cat. Only they clearly didn't have the money for a fancy animatronic.
As long as you don't do it in public, you can do it as much as you like.
Or until you need glasses. Oops, too late.
You shut up, you furball, or I'll have you neutered again.
Anyway, tensions rise as they try to decipher if Elvira's niece is a witch too.
I'll break out the champagne and little Frisky.
That's enough out of you, you nasty old cat.
Hey, you heard Renfield talk? Only a witch can hear animals' thoughts.
No, I'm not like you. I want to be normal, like everybody else.
All the while, the local police department is secretly investigating Elvira for witchcraft.
You're under arrest! For what? For selling Lorraine Wiesner a potion that put her in the hospital.
Okay, I'm just gonna cut to the chase. They don't actually test the poison to see if there's any toxic or illegal substances. And the woman was diagnosed with pneumonia, which was a super common prognosis. Also notably not a poisoning. So not only did she fall in love with her doctor, I don't think they would have actually opened a case unless she or the doctor had made a complaint. Clearly, this is just the police chief that has an axe to grind with Elvira, which has unsettling implications. Police work is corrupt and shitty at the best of times. Also, she's the one that sent the hunky policeman to sting Elvira. If she's so jealous, then maybe she could not do that? They probably should have made her nemesis the head of the neighborhood association, or PTA, like they did in Mistress of Darkness. Also, I did wish they kept some sort of horror show host aspect. There is no reason she couldn't have been both a TV show host and a psychic on the side. Or maybe even the owner of a video store that does psychic readings in the back. I think that would open up all sorts of interactions with Elvira and the general public. Still though, I could see a lot of potential for this as a series. Hell, if they wanted to, they could just reboot it today. I mean, you have this whole mystery as to what happened to the niece's father and mother. And, you know, I think it would be funny to see Elvira interacting with a bunch of nuns. I mean it when I say this pilot has some legs. Well, you know what I mean. The Legend of Smurfy Hollow. After the 2011 Smurfs movie,
I kissed a Smurf and I liked it?
Sony Animation produced a bunch of animated specials that aired on Cartoon Network. What was great about these specials was that we had a look at what a 2D Smurfs movie might have looked like. And I gotta say, the animation is really nice here. There's just so much bounce and character. And I'm not a 2D is always superior guy, but this looks so much better than the clay-looking 3D models they used in the wraparounds. Anyway, moving from Uncanny Valley to Smurfy Hollow, turns out Brainy's been winning the annual fall Smurfberry contest by secretly collecting his berries in a hollow past the old rickety bridge. There doesn't seem to be a rule against this, so it's technically not cheating. It's just the superstition that prevents the other Smurfs from going.
Oh, the Headless Horseman lives over there.
No.
Kind of like a naturally occurring Scooby-Doo real estate scam. But Brainy is so unsympathetically smug about it.
Sorry,
Sorry, I didn't catch what she said. I'm having trouble hearing her over the clanging of these victory medals that I'm wearing from the past 9 years of Smurfberry hunts.
Yeah, joke it up, laddie.
So when Gutsy finds out, he uses the legend to give Brainy a spook.
What? A tall zebra?
Okay, that's pretty good. However, when Brainy gets lost in the woods, he and his would-be rescuers end up in one of Gargamel's traps.
Why, hello, my dear daughter. Oh.
It's weird. I swear this special was trying to lay the groundwork for the sequel, reminding you that Smurfette was created by Gargamel. But that movie is not subtle at all, so what's the point? Yada yada yada, actual ghost horseman shows up and gives Gargamel a scare.
What's that for?
But it turns out it was just Papa Smurf's trick all along. So you taught your kids a valuable lesson about fair play and humility, and kept the Smurfberry Reserve safe. That's great, but I have a question. Is Narrator Smurf just omnipotent? Or did Papa Smurf recount this to him? Yeah, this one Halloween I totally smurfed a guy. Dumped him in the river. And if you ever cross me, I'll smurf you too. The Wickedest Witch.
There lived a witch with powers so dark and evil that even the other witches feared her. Her name was Avarissa, and she was banished to an underground kingdom somewhere beneath Ohio.
What makes this special so weird is just how out of nowhere it seems. Not based off a show or a book, and it only lasts about 30 minutes runtime. Plus you got Rue McClanahan as the titular Wickedest Witch, and Birch Meredith to narrate this kind of shticky little Halloween special. And when I say shticky, I mean it.
I am the all-knowing shtick. I know all and have seen everything. Nothing exists without my knowledge. Who are you?
I'm Avarissa. We met 300 years ago.
Who made this? Who's Bernie Brillstein? Oh, okay, he was the executive producer on Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. Lots of puppets in that. Alf. Okay, it was Alf. That's where all the puppet people came from. Now I can't help but notice the similarity in puppets, especially in the nose. Oh, and look, the special was made at just the same time that Alf was ending. Oh my god, we got all these puppets. What are we gonna do? Paint them green! I have a script based off a NyQuil dream I had once. Wait, this was written by David Stephen Cohen? The head writer of Courage the Cowardly Dog? Okay, now this kinda makes sense too. This feels like a Courage episode. Some evil thing wants something, i.e. a witch trapped in the center of the earth wants to be free, but she can only escape on Halloween night if she gets a young child to perform a cruel act. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time Blanche seduces a younger man.
The evil witch was desperate to get Louis to commit a despicable deed. As a last resort, she even tried to get him to sell her a used car.
But when he refuses, the witch's staff is shattered, which means he can't go home. I mean, she probably wasn't going to send him back anyway. Oh no, wait. When she sent her servant to get the boy, she gave him a stone, which will grant him one wish.
Gee, kid, I feel bad. I mean, I was the one who got you here. I wish I could get you home. Maybe if you started digging, we could... Hey, what happened?
Yeah, this special is remembered more for how it just kinda ends. No sentimentality, no proper goodbyes. Well, at least the witch is powerless now, and the creatures are able to live their little lives in peace. Like, for real, this thing is like the platypus of Halloween specials. It's comprised of very distinctive elements from other entities, localized in this one thing. How the hell did this happen? And scientists are like, I don't know, screwing around, I guess.
I haven't seen you this happy since they discovered scurvy.
Crybaby Lane. The movie's so terrifying that they hid it away from you for over a decade. Or so the story goes. The tale of Crybaby Lane starts around 1995, when Peter Lorre wrote the final script, which was based off urban legends he had heard growing up in the small Ohio town. That of the ghost of a small baby crying vainly in the dead of the night that could be heard while traveling some deserted trail in the woods. An already proficient TV and music director, Lorre was hoping to get the script turned into a featured film. However, executives at Nickelodeon took interest in the script and suggested that they turn it into a TV movie. At the time, it was advertised as Nickelodeon's first Halloween TV movie, which suggested that this was maybe going to be an annual tradition, in the same vein as Disney's many Halloween specials. However, after the airing, Nickelodeon began receiving letters that the movie had traumatized their children with how horrifying the movie was. And so the movie was never aired again. Only it did. After earning significant notoriety in online circles, Splat, Nickelodeon's nostalgia channel, began re-airing Crybaby Lane in 2011 and did so until 2017. All the while really leaning into the mystique that the special had garnered. And it turns out the movie, kind of okay. Little boring, actually. There's nothing kids find more horrifying than early 2000s Jim Gaffigan turning his nose up at funeral expenses.
I never asked for cold cuts.
Typical.
It's standard stuff.
Tell him your uncle's a lawyer.
You want lawyers involved?
Like, it's hard to tell what parts of the town are being taken over by evil spirits from a disturbed grave, when most of the town folk just seem kind of weird and shitty to begin with.
Sorry I'm late, Mrs. Hunt. Cookie dough? That's gonna kill the baby.
Why is this 27-year-old hanging out with the crew of middle school girls? On top of just being really dark, some shots have this weird tilted filter on them. It just makes it really hard to read. Like, sometimes a person's eyes will fog over, Evil Dead style, and that's pretty good. But I'm like, this is it? This is what traumatized a generation? I mean, I hate to be like, in my day, but in my day...
Pick the right door and you go free. Pick the wrong door and there he'll be.
This is the network that gave us the over-the-top horror of Are You Afraid of the Dark? When you compare Dead Man's Float to The Big Bad and Crybaby, you can't help but feel a little disappointed.
Brave boy.
The one scene I actually found disturbing was not so much supernatural as it was just kind of a hate crime. The thing that executives thought was the biggest get for this movie was Frank Langella, which, yeah, sure, if you didn't waste him, but he doesn't play a bombastic ghoul that adorns himself with the power of evil, like in that one movie he did, Nixon.
An honest mistake.
He plays a mild-mannered mortician that the town just shits on for no reason. He gets taken out by a small child with a tube sword.
Excuse me?
Strangely enough, they also wanted to reach out to Tom Waits for the role. And it's like, what? Hey, any of you kids wanna see a dead Betty? Wait, no, that's Bob Dylan. So it turns out the real reason the movie was never shown again was because people at the studio honestly forgot about it. There was no real outrage or bad blood. It just kind of happened that way. But it's kind of appropriate that the special kind of became a ghost story of a ghost story. Part of the human tradition to tell spooky stories, but instead of one of an eerie noise that someone heard down a stretch of road late at night, it's the images burnt into an old CRTV screen that were never seen again. Sadly, I think it lost a lot of its mystique the moment that it got re-aired, which is really the only reason it got re-aired in the first place, thus breaking its spell. But maybe new viewers can learn all the details later, and enjoy the magic long enough to hear the story about banned TV special, and track it down just to see it for themselves. Just like the teenagers that will walk down all the Crybaby Lanes that came before it. Halloween with the new Addams Family. This was a 1977 made-for-TV movie that more or less acted like a reunion special for the cast of the original series. All except for the original grandmama, who was sadly ill at the time.
Have you seen your children's costumes?
They're very different children.
This one really tears it.
Now that's disgusting.
The whole gang is back. Gomez, Morticia, Lurch, Fester, Pancho. Wait, who the is Pancho? Well, I guess he's Gomez's brother? Basically just another Gomez.
Goodbye, dear brother. Adiosito. I'll take care of everything here.
Stop the car!
You know, something's weird with the production when Morticia is considered a special guest. Like, I honestly think they couldn't get everyone on the set on the same location at the same time while they were filming this. John Astin is always looking through windows, delivering his line through doorways or off-screen. Gomez walks up the stairs, and just when he's out of the shot, Fester walks into the room. Him and his brother Pancho never seem to actually share any time in the same frame. There's one part where Pancho is with the family, decorating the Halloween scarecrow, you know, like you do. And when Gomez actually enters the room, it's a new cut and Pancho is hiding in the shadows. Also, they have a new Wednesday and a new Pugsley. But the original actors show up too, whoa, boy. To make things more confusing, there's a bunch of robbers using the Addams Family Halloween party as an opportunity to find the family vault and the valuables therein. Fairly typical plot that we've seen before, but they've decided to employ another Gomez and Morticia look-alike to scour the house. So that's 3 Gomez's and 2 Morticias we're up to. Oh, and there's also Ophelia Frump, who's actually a semi-reoccurring character in the comics and series. She's Morticia's manic sister.
Hello, sister dear. Any interesting men here? Poncho's upstairs. Say no more.
Played by the same actress as Morticia. So I guess that's really 3 Morticias? You could totally tell they were trying to pad out this special too. Aside from most of the movie being empty hallways or disconnected backyard shots, they do this weird bit over and over again. The Danny Ocean of this operation, Jimmy Puddles, uses these unnecessarily oiled up henchmen to tie up Gomez. But he gets out his flute and sends a message to OG Wednesday, and then he gets loose. This happens 3 more times. No lessons were learned.
I see you've had assertiveness training. I admire that. Especially within the family.
I mean, it's not all bad. The last 10 minutes really ramp up the spooky Halloween fun with a song and a legend of a ghostly relative that carves pumpkins.
Only Cousin Shy parts a cobweb like that.
It's actually kind of nice and worthy of an actual reunion special. However, I can't shake the feeling that this was some sort of weird screen test for a reboot series. I mean, what was the thought process behind a brand new Pugsley, Wednesday, and Gomez? In the form of Pancho, of course. Also, it's really uncomfortable seeing Pancho hit on his sister-in-law. It's supposed to be a joke, I get that, but out of all the decades of being creepy and kooky, the Addams Family managed to finally be genuinely unnerving to me.
Mama, you've soaked poor Pancho.
Yeah, and I also cooled his lava.
Gesundheit.
Hansel and Gretel. Okay, so with Beetlejuice back in the cultural consciousness, and Tim Burton apparently back to form, it seems like a good time to remind you all of a little project he did for the Disney Channel back in 1983. Tim Burton basically produced a trilogy of short films as a sort of research and development for Disney. Vincent, which would heavily influence Nightmare Before Christmas, Frankenweenie, which showed Tim Burton's live-action directorial chops. It was actually the thing that caught Paul Rubens' attention and led him to directing the Pee Wee Herman movie. And the fever dream that is Hansel and Gretel. And by God, is this the Burtonest thing of any Burton thing ever Burtoned. Mainly because all his designs are so faithfully replicated in live action. Oddly, way more accurately than his bigger budget films. Thanks to Rick Heinrichs, the Rick so nice they named him twice. An equally inspirational production designer who went on to have an impressive career of his own. It was Heinrich himself that stated that this was made for Halloween.
We've developed this guy for a Halloween-oriented project, which Tim designed the characters for and conceptualized.
And it's true, this did air once on the Disney Channel on October 29th and 31st at 10:30 at night. Literally the last thing the channel broadcast for Halloween. Remember when they used to just shut off TV for a while every night? It's weird that they seem to go out of their way to hide it, but also aired it at least twice. Maybe it was under some kind of contract or something. I mean, I could see them getting cold feet about this. So it's basically Hansel and Gretel. But again, everything is soaked in Burton's insanity. Also, it feels like a stage play that occurs in some abstract dream world. Or at least it tries to. If I had to criticize, there are some great uses of space, which is one of Tim Burton's talents. But other times it just kind of feels like it's the middle of a school play production. Also, I think there was just technical limitations. Like when Hansel and Gretel start poking holes in the candy house. I imagine on paper it was supposed to be this burst, or just a flow of some sort of sweet juice. Here it just kind of looks like a pinhole leak. But there's still plenty of nightmare fuel here. Like when the bed grows arms and tries to strangle them. And the gingerbread man that chides Hansel to eat him.
Finish me! Finish me! No!
But out of all the weird things about this special, nobody seems to mention the kung fu fighting. Like the kids are doing roundhouses, and the witch does a flying dropkick into the oven. Wait, is this why all the actors are Asian? What the hell, Tim? It says here that Tim Burton wanted kung fu fighting and Japanese-style toys in the film because he was obsessed with the culture at the time. And that the color scheme of the movie was a tribute to Godzilla films? What the hell is he talking about? Whatever. It's funny to watch this and then look at the rest of the stuff he did in the 90s and think, oh, he was being subtle. Hey guys, it's Norfin! Hey look, it's Norfin! Man oh man, Norfin. Yeah, I don't know what or who this is either. When I first looked into this, I thought it looked like a bunch of knockoff troll dolls. Turns out they actually are just troll dolls. There was a brief period in the 90s where an American company imported the toy under the Norfin brand, which I guess stands for North Finland. What makes this more confusing is that this and 2 other specials were released on VHS in 1994, years after other attempts to turn Trolls into a TV series. Yet for some reason this attempt was never mentioned on any list. Stranger still, the animation looks nothing like your standard attempt at a Saturday morning show. Everything is just way too smooth. Turns out the studio behind this is Soyuz Multifilm, not just a Russian animation company, but apparently the Russian animation company. Founded in 1936, one might know this studio for Russian Winnie the Pooh, or those Rabbit and Wolf cartoons you might have seen, but was also known for producing some of the most beautiful and experimental animation in history. So that accounts for the very distinctive animation style, but when and why did they agree to do this? All we know is that FHS acquired the rights and got a bunch of Canadians to dub it. Pretty sure that's Don Brown giving his all as Doom.
Yes! That scream is the sound of those meddlesome Norfins! A moment and a half and zap!
Okay, so what's the actual special about? The villain of the series, Doom, returns to his ancestral home to search for a mysterious artifact.
And the key is the only way to find Olaf's opal.
Sounds like these demons were after the key.
But instead finds 3 monsters his uncle created. How does one create a vampire and a werewolf? What is this, Trolls Resident Evil Village?
Here's one. Ula Kabula. Kabula Ula.
Also, it turns out that the artifact is, in fact, this little sack creature that loves to play tricks on people.
Olaf's opal. Sacre bleu! Olaf's opal is not even an opal! Oh, I must tell the others!
And sounds exactly like a gremlin. I mean, his laugh alone is enough to kind of give kids the creeps. I wasn't expecting there to be so much lore in this goofy cartoon for dolls. Like, the first shot shows that the whole town is actually built on the remains of a landlocked boat, implying that this is a civilization that popped up in the aftermath of some ancient Scandinavian shipwreck.
Oh, darn, that's awesome!
Another odd thing is that this is so clearly Halloween. It's brief, but you can see other trolls walking around in costumes on the street. I mean, why else would they have jack-o'-lanterns just sitting around? And since this is the last of the 3 specials, it implies that Doom died when his castle collapsed. If you think that's grim, this is the guy who made an atom bomb for Christmas. Why does this doll cartoon go so hard?
That's really awesome!
The Eagle's Nest, Halloween.
Hi, I'm Pastor Gary, and I'm continuing a message that I started last week dealing with Halloween, a diabolical trick or a harmless treat.
The Eagle's Nest was a televised ministry hosted by Gary Greenwald, a prosperity gospeler and faith healer who has made his name by leaning super hard into the satanic panic of the late 70s and early 80s.
Now, who's behind this holiday? Many people say, is Satan really behind it? Let me put a picture up of what we call the horned hunter of the night. He's the heathen symbol of the goat's head, and this represents Satan, or Samhain.
You remember Grimwald from such paranoia propaganda as Rock's Primal Scream and Deception of a Generation, where 2 sad paranoid men play with action figures and bitch about Scooby-Doo and Superman.
I mean, what are you saying about Rainbow Bright?
again, it's a humanistic emblems and humanistic value system.
Well, the rainbow represents the networking of the New Age.
Right.
You're the devil, and you just made Daddy pee his pants.
Which makes the 1984 Eagle's Nest broadcast all the weirder, because he spends the whole sermon maligning Halloween, all the while in the middle of a decorated graveyard set, and does bits with people in Halloween costumes.
Some of this graveyard is coming alive tonight. Listen, Frank, I'm talking right now. Could you leave me alone for a moment? I want to tell these people about Halloween.
My favorite thing is that he clearly doesn't have a smoke machine, so he just has someone hiding in the background shooting off firecrackers. But yeah, to watch this is to watch a Christian hypocrisy speedrun. And, well, I certainly did blurt out the Lord's name a few times while watching this.
This picture of Frankenstein's laboratory where he built the monster. I am the protector of Tutankhamun's grave. Isn't it ironic that 13 of the people that entered that tomb died shortly afterward? But 4 weeks later, on the same day that Tutankhamun's golden mask was being readied for a trip to London, Mirez died at age 52 from a circulatory collapse.
It sounds more spooky ooh when you don't use the word heart attack. Also, the life expectancy of a male in 1920s England was 56. You have to remember, this was before the discovery of penicillin. So it only seems like these people died off suddenly and mysteriously based off of our modern standards. But of course, the Pharaoh's Curse has been debunked. All of this shit has been debunked.
These druids would go from castle to castle. You can see here, they're going from place to place, and they're getting their victims. Now, the treat from the castle demanded by the druids would be a princess or a young woman for human sacrifice. She would be a beautiful virgin.
There's no evidence of druid sacrifice. If they found any mass graves or giant burn pits, this guy would have told us about them already. A Christian Halloween propaganda special. And depending on your temperament, you might actually get a huge kick out of this. He just clearly has no idea what he's talking about.
A lot of us that remember that think that Dracula was a real person, and actually he was. Castle Dracula is in Romania. It was inhabited by a personage called Valid the Impaler.
I'm sorry, who is that again?
Valid.
Beg pardon?
Valid.
One more time.
Valid. Food and...
Frankenstein ruins Halloween. Well, just when I think I've reached the bottom of the barrel, the rotten wood falls apart, revealing an even deeper hole of muck.
Those are called cell phones, Frankie.
Phones? That you can just carry around with you? Slip in and out of your pocket? Use any time and any place?
Indeed. I don't care for them either. If I carried one and photographed my food every time I sat down for a meal, I'd have mugshots of 3/4 of the Earth's Eastern Europe.
This thing makes the dancing pumpkin actually feel like the Peter Jackson epic it was invoking. It makes Halloween's staging look like a Kurosawa film, and a plot that makes Spookly the Square Pumpkin look like a tightly crafted narrative on the same level as Citizen Kane. From what I can tell, Wow Now, an American-Canadian studio that produces the finest quality in bare minimum entertainment, is the studio behind such films as Haunted Transylvania, Kung Fu Bunny, and Finding Jesus 1 and 2. I guess he was still looking. So yeah, think like Ratatouille, except at least I can give that one some credit. The characters moved once in a while, and the designs were semi-coherent.
Welcome to Armageddon, talking heads.
Oh, hold up. Dave, I don't see any live interviews on the docket today. Who's this?
I told you, this is mischief. Your inattentiveness will be your undoing.
Hell, at least Dingo Pictures has its own recognizable style. Like, if you're wondering why Frankenstein and Dracula are flying a spaceship in front of this planet over and over and over and over again, well, you need to familiarize yourself with the deep lore of Dave of the Dead franchise. And the lore is, we bought a bunch of plugins from Fanatical.
The dead are awakening. The living are quaking. Spooky frights from out of the ground.
There is only 2 modelers and animators listed for this whole movie. And I don't know if they've actually done anything for these projects specifically, or if they just sell plugins that any studio can use. And if they did do any work for these movies, they were done by lunch. Because every shot is the same series of still animation over barely lip-synced dialogue. Every character can only look straight ahead, even when they're talking to other characters. Frankie cannot not throw up the horns. I was legitimately stunned when I saw a new expression for Frankie at the 45-minute mark. So what actually happens in this special? Well, when Frankenstein is left on his own, he decides to fly the spaceship into the black hole of Halloween, despite being specifically told not to do that.
About it.
You guys, we have to be very careful about this. The realignment of Halloween energies is a bad idea. What we do within the black hole of Halloween radiates out into the cosmos at large.
What does that mean exactly? Well, Jack-o'-lantern FBX causes a traffic jam in Florida EXR. They keep going on and on about how bad things are getting, but they only ever show this one shot and the same talking animations over and over again. This movie is just talking and talking and talking. I was like, this has got to end soon. Like, the rest of the runtime is just going to be one of those old Casper cartoons, right? They can't possibly keep this up for over an hour. Like, this was made in 2019. This has to be way too early for AI, right? Wait, BC 14? Maybe this was written by AI. So how do they solve whatever the hell this is? I honestly don't know. I swear, I've watched this part over and over again. They just say they're going to do something, and the pumpkins go in reverse, so yay?
Let's show that stupid black hole that it's no match for Halloween's monsters.
But it turns out it had nothing to do with Frankenstein at all. This whole thing was caused by a computer virus made by Dracula. Yeah, remember? During the morning talk show with the tiny pink hippo and spiky southern weasel? What? Why are you looking at me like that? That's what happened. It happened. I saw it. I'm not crazy. You're crazy.
I hope you're pleased, Master. The universe is in ruins. Halloween is no more.
Well, I think that sucks.
Frankenstein, the college years. Okay, so this thing has been in the back of my head for the last 30 years or so. I only remember bits and flashes of this 1991 made-for-TV movie that aired one Halloween on Fox. This would have been on the list sooner, but finding a half-decent print was a struggle in itself. Apparently they have VHS copies of this movie in Germany, so rather than roll those dice, I decided to download the chunks of it that had the best video, and the other videos that had the better audio. And much like Frankenstein's creation, I stitched them all together. I know it's rough to look at, but I suspect Disney won't be re-releasing this gem anytime soon. Which is ironic, since it kind of wants to be a goofy boner comedy in the same vein as Revenge of the Nerds or Porky's, but just about has the same feel as a late 90s Disney TV movie. Except for, the dead body at the party.
Tulip, who wanted to go out in style, you were always the life of the party. Until now.
when the beloved and fun-loving, but still innovative Professor Lipsinger dies unexpectedly, his favorite student receives a cryptic message from his estate. After breaking into his private laboratory, Mark and his buddy Jay discover exactly what the professor's been working on.
BBF. Victor. Von Frankenstein!
What's weird about this movie is actually kinda smarter than you would expect from a goofy TV thing.
Frankenstein? Frankenstein.
Not that much smarter, but okay. Turns out while Frankenstein was successful in reanimating a corpse, he could not hinder tissue rejection on a long-term basis. Thus, the so-called monster was put in suspended animation. The professor who died was a specialist in the field of suppressing tissue rejection.
You were his assistant. What was he closing in on?
Oh, lip. Transplants without rejection, revolutionizing medicine, the usual stuff.
The usual stuff?
How did he get a hold of Frankenstein's estate? Who knows? Could have been a distant relative or something. I'm more interested in how he managed to engineer all these Resident Evil secret puzzles. Naturally, the two students bring Frank, as they call him, back to life, but not without blowing up the late professor's home in the process. And of course, Frank follows them back to their dorms, where he gets into all sorts of shenanigans, like dating, and partying, and joining the football team. So now they are dancing on a knife's edge between getting Nobel Prizes as they study Frank, or getting arrested and expelled by a conniving professor, or a corrupt CEO, or a scheming lawyer. Actually, I'm not sure what this guy does. I mean, it's Larry Miller. Larry Miller is after them.
Radical surfer dude.
Surfer dude?
Oh man, we all know Larry Miller hates surfer dudes. To complicate things further, Frank is dying. Again, because of that aforementioned organ rejection. So not only is this like Encino Man Frankenstein, it's also a bit of Brian's song with Frankenstein. I love Frankenstein, and I'd like all you to love him too. Luckily, they managed to free Frankie and administer the serum to him.
Frank, I don't care if it's English, French, or Swahili. Say something.
Well, Dean Murch, I can oblige you in English and French. But as for Swahili, that's another story.
I really like the blending of the Frankenstein mythos here. It seems to imply that, much like the original book, the creation was eloquent and intelligent.
You speak perfect English. Yes, I'm also fluent in Latin and Greek. At least I was.
But at some point, his health deteriorated, resulting in the movie depiction of the creature, stumbling around and grunting. Although the ending does imply that they could bring anyone back to life, which has concerning ramifications. What if the professor didn't entrust Mark to make the world a better place, but instead wanted Mark to reanimate him? What if his ghost is just hanging around screaming at him?
You stupid son of a bitch, get me out of that hole!
Once Upon a Midnight Scary. This 1979 special features Vincent Price as a mysterious host who indulges the viewer in spooky tales of the macabre from his personal library.
Well, my name is... Oh, but my name is unimportant, really. After all, you didn't come here to learn my name, did you? No. You came here because I am an expert on the terrors of the night.
And can I say, Vincent Price is just killing it here. I mean, naturally, he's just oozes charisma in everything he does, but this performance is exceptional, as he just sinks his teeth into the material.
Imagination. Oh, yes, of course. imagination. It's a lovely thing to have to entertain you on a long and boring day. But when it's dark, very dark, and you are walking a midnight mile through a lonely countryside, those shadows you see begin to twist and breathe, taking on shapes of all manner of ghoul and monster, and then they reach out and grab you. Do they? Or is it just your imagination?
And it's all just a wraparound segment for kids' books. The special is an anthology of classic and contemporary children's literature. Of course, it features Sleepy Hollow, and I have to say I admire the efficiency of it. You don't get the whole story, but rather this one scene of the party before Ichabod's climactic ride.
There ain't no sport in wrestling pigs, schoolteacher, but whomping a bit on swine's another thing altogether.
Also, I just love the way the horseman just appears in the distance and just slowly approaches and rides along the unnerved Ichabod. It isn't until they get to a clearing that Ichabod can get a good look at his traveling companion. And even then, he just tries to play it off.
Where are you, headed?
Might be my favorite encounter with the Headless Horseman so far. The next story is a little newer. In that one, a young boy is drawn to his family's barn by a mysterious light.
Who are you? Alexander. I need you.
What 13-year-old doesn't want to hear a ghost girl say that to them? The boy is compelled to follow the ghost to a bridge that collapses just moments later. If the boy wasn't there to stop the bus, all of the passengers would have died.
You would have been on that bridge. You were right, kid, but how did you know?
What's weird in this special is that as the adaptations go on, they become more and more complete. Like, the first segment is more or less just the hook of Alexander's adventure with a ghost, as he becomes a local celebrity and finds out that someone was actually trying to sabotage the bridge. It's actually a pretty good story. The Sleepy Hollow segment really captures the essence of the entire story. Sure, you miss a lot of the build-up, but most of the working parts are here. And finally, The House with the Clock in the Walls is a complete telling of the story. In fact, the company behind this released a video of just this one segment. It certainly is the longest segment, which makes me think that they maybe just wanted to do a Clock in the Walls special, but when the running time came under, they had to scramble and try to piece together a Halloween special or something.
Uncle Jonathan, what's happening? This is fantastic!
Also, I thought that was Severn Darden. He played Van Helsing in Saturday the 14th. If you ever need a nonchalant weirdo, then he is your man. He somehow overacts and underacts at the same time in everything he does. It's great.
Well, they say you're a wizard.
Well, I am, as a matter of fact. And my crystal ball. And here, my hand of glory. When the candle is lit, I can stun anyone so they can't move if they so much as look at it. So you'd better behave yourself.
By the way, did you know Vincent Price has never played Dracula? That's weird, right? It would seem he would be a natural for that part. And he has never done it. Well, almost never. You know, this kind of twist would have come off as corny if it weren't anyone but Vincent Price. And they do a pretty good job foreshadowing it. Again, talking to bats and popping out of coffins is just the kind of weird stuff you would expect Vincent Price to do, which just adds more power to this reveal. I love it so much, I even foreshadowed it myself in the script for this review.
As he just sinks his teeth into the material.
We could grab a quick bite.
The Child of Glass. Child of Glass was a Wonderful World of Disney TV movie loosely based off The Ghost Belongs to Me. That one segment from Once Upon a Midnight Scary that we saw. And when I say loosely, I mean, why do they even bother? Although released in May of 1978, it's another one of those productions that has retroactively become a Halloween special through its many reruns in the 80s and 90s. And it does help that the ticking clock does end on Halloween night.
What's All Saints Eve? I believe you call it Halloween. Why do I have to help you? Because you're the one I've been waiting for all these long years.
You can consider this movie a distant cousin to films that were produced during the macabre young adult fiction of the 1980s Disney. And while films like Something Wicked and Watcher in the Woods have benefited from their featured film budgets and just overall better writing, Child of Glass still retains the elements that make it a creepy, slow burn supernatural tale.
What are you looking at? Something's holding me. Some kind of force.
A kid named Alex gets dragged to live in a dilapidated southern plantation when his weirdo yuppie parents become obsessed with it. In fact, the film seems to dedicate more time to the mother's subplot of renovating the house and throwing parties than it does to the ghost. Like, they even have to do a quick walk and talk to explain the plot.
Because it has to do with mysterious forces from the other world that only you can comprehend. What are you talking about? Aunt Vinny just told me you're a sensitive. A sensitive's got second sight. The power to see through the darkness that clouds the minds of mortal men. To see the unseen.
Everybody got that?
Speaking of which, the ghost rules in this movie just feel off.
Heal me now, for I may see this once, and only once. Sleeping lies the murdered lass. Vainly cries the child of glass. When the two shall be as one, the spirit's journey will be done.
Like how Inez says her murder must be solved before midnight on Halloween. Why? Ghosts don't usually have an expiration date. They are kinda notorious for staying past their time. Did the clock start when she first talked to Alex? Then after pestering Alex on multiple occasions, she's like, I want to dance now.
I want you to dance with me.
Well, if that doesn't beat all. First you're so all fired worried about time slipping by, and now you want to take time out to dance?
Each spirit is given the power to step through the ghostly veil, and once again live as we were on Earth. The power lasts only a short time, and it can only be used once.
You know, seems like an ability like that would have been really important and useful for, you know, maybe solving the whole being murdered thing. Also, there's this one part where Blossom, you know, the exposition girl, shows up to the party with some hand-me-down clothes that she found in the barn, and just looks so devastated when she sees Inez and Alex dancing. It was implied that she lost her parents at a young age, grew up poor with her aunt, and is just kind of this homely little nerd girl that could use a friend. So this is one moment that has always just stayed with me.
Watch this, Lise. You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half. And now.
Wish we explored more of this, but the runtime is eaten up by the parents' cosplay obsession.
All my life I dreamed of living in a house like this and giving an elegant party with charming guests from all the finest families. And now we have this shambles.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you get it? Did somebody get it? Oh.
But if you think Alex's family is bad, you should check out Inez's. It was her crazy uncle that murdered her and her parents. And also possibly cursed her?
Curse be on you. You will walk in darkness, in the spirit world, never to meet your dear parents again.
Although I don't think it was that. I think it was her mother.
Never let it out of your sight. You must promise me this. Oh, yes, Mama. I promise. I will keep it with me always.
It's that doll. That's the child of glass.
Porcelain isn't glass. Wait, is porcelain glass? Okay, no, porcelain is made from heated clay. So, you know, distinctly not glass. Maybe the child of glass means the family fortune that was secretly hidden in the doll's head.
The treasure that Captain Jacques Domain was looking for.
So the parents wanted to get Inez to safety, but also wanted her to hold on to the diamonds, the thing that would put her in the most danger without her knowledge. Sounds like her parents just really wanted a coke mule. It's clear that the child of glass is Inez, and they play this glass sound effect whenever they imply her presence is around. So yeah, if you haven't guessed, there is no child of glass mentioned in The Ghost Belongs to Me. Heck, there is no riddle. In the book, a ghost warns Alex about a deranged arsonist sabotaging the local bridge. The grateful Alex, with the help of Tulip and his uncle, give the ghost rest by returning her body to her family crypt. The movie invented porcelain being glass, the unnecessarily cryptic riddle, and the homicidal drunk descendant of crazy uncles out of thin air. The ghost we saw before gets way more sympathy, because despite being a lost soul, her concern was making sure no one else shared her fate. In the book, Alex offers her help, but here Inez is just really pushy, and even threatens to haunt Alex forever if he doesn't solve her murder.
Release me from my prison or I will hunt you for the rest of your days.
Haunt me?
Wait a minute, I just remembered a detail from the beginning of the movie.
When the old man went insane and hung himself in the hayloft of the barn.
Did Inez haunt her uncle so hard that he hung himself in the barn? Does the ghost in this Wonderful World of Disney movie have a body count?
There's the spirit! Right over there! Come on! Let's get out of here quick! I'll give up! I'll give up! Let's go!
Hello everyone, just popping in to say thank you all so very much for watching the video. I know a lot of you really look forward to the Halloween videos, and I look forward to making them. A special thank you to Dilly over at Second Rate Film School. They did an interview with the writer, director, and producers of Crybaby Lane, and that was very helpful. And again, just a special thank you to all those that have really been supportive and kept me going this month. I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. And I just want to, again, wish you all a very happy Halloween.